So, good evening, everyone. We are going to start our next session, that is the science of soul. Till now, in this journey of self discovery, we have discovered what is the special prerogative of the human form of life, how is it different from that of the animals. Human beings are given higher intelligence, but why? Then we saw how human beings are supposed to inquire about the problems of life and how to put a permanent end to the problems of birth, old age, disease, and death. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Then we looked into the topic of God mystery. Does God exist, or is he just a hypothetical concept to create some morality in the society? So scientifically we concluded that by observing nature, we can we can understand that there is an intelligent design behind this. And then in the last session we saw how there are three means of getting knowledge and how using the pratyaksha and anuman praman we arrive at false conclusions, and the ultimate way of getting knowledge, getting perfect bona fide time tested sure shot knowledge, is shabda praman. And today we are going to draw conclusions from the Shabda Praman. So the beginning of Bhagavad Gita starts with clarification of some of the doubts of Arjuna. Lord Krishna, as soon as he starts speaking Bhagavad Gita, first thing he clarifies, he establishes is what is our identity? Who are we? So this shall be our inquiry into this session. So So, who are you? Generally, if you ask someone this question, who are you? The first answer that comes to his mind is, I am so and so. He will tell his name. But you see, name is just a designation. What were you before this name was allotted to you? So, by many people can change their names also. So, just by changing name, does it mean that you are changing? No, we remain the same person. Our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings remain the same, although the name is changed. It means that name is just a temporary designation allotted to us, which can be changed, but our identity is something beyond the name. Then someone can identify strongly with a religion. I am a Hindu, I am a Muslim, but even that can be changed. A person who is Hindu today can take to Muslim faith or Christian faith tomorrow. So this is also not a permanent identity that belongs to us. Then someone will tell, okay, I'm an Indian, but even nationality can be changed. So what is our identity? Someone can tell, I'm a male, I'm a man, I'm a woman. No, nowadays with the modern science, even the gender can be changed. So what is actually our identity? Someone can tell, okay, I am son of so and so, I'm brother of so and so, but this is about this life. Let us say there is a student who is 17 years old. You ask that student, what was your identity 20 years ago? So this raises a serious question mark. Actually, what is our identity? So this and much more shall be our topic of discussion today. So topic of today's presentation is science of soul. So we see soul is something that is much talked about in all the religions of this world. So we shall be looking into the science of soul. First of all, we are going to discuss what is our identity. Are we matter or are we spirit? Then scientific proofs for existence of an anti-material personality. Sometimes people think that concept of soul is created just to maintain morality in the society. So we are going to analyze scientifically. From a scientific perspective, also can we establish the presence of soul? Then we are going to look into what the Shastras speak about soul. Then today we are going to address that question that we raised in the first session, that why people are unhappy in their lives. Everyone is trying to be happy in this world, but ultimately everyone is frustrated. What is the cause of that? And in the end we will discuss about soul and super soul, the relationship between the two. So first let us begin with this first topic. Am I matter or am I spirit? See, in scriptures there are two things that are taught about, both matter and spirit. So matter is jada padarth, something that is not very conscious, that is not conscious, that cannot feel, that cannot have emotions. For example, this table, this laptop, all of this is matter. This cannot think on its own. This does not have consciousness, does not have feeling. On the other hand, spirit is something that is conscious. If you touch a plant, there are, even in the plants also, there are certain species, touch me not plant. If you touch them, they kind of, droop themselves. Or the plants are sensitive towards the sunlight, so they can also sense and react to the stimulus present in the environment. So that is something that is the characteristic of a spirit. Matter, on the other hand, is just dead. In order to manipulate matter, you need spirit. For example, in order to, take this laptop from this place to another place, a person is required. This laptop is not just going to go on its own. So this, we shall be looking into what is our identity. Are we matter or are we spirit? Who are you? There is an interesting research done by performed by this professor, Dr. Harry Monson. He is a professor of anatomy in Illinois College of Medicine. So he calculated that in a 60-pound person, there are, on the average, he calculated this minerals are present in this much amount. And based on the market rate, he calculated the worth of a human body. So the cost comes out to be rupees 110. Now imagine, do you feel that this is actually what you are worth? Rupees 110. Imagine mother's son has died, and in order order to pacify her, the government just gives him 110 rupees. Okay, your son has died, so this is the worth of his body. Now that body is gone, so you just keep this 110 rupees with her. This is something that is absurd. So our identity is not something that is just, combination of some chemicals. Our identity should be much more worth than it. Otherwise, why is life so valuable? Why killing someone is considered a crime? If we are just biological robots, if we are just, all our actions are just product of some chemical manipulations happening in the body, then why someone should be considered a criminal if he kills someone? Because he is just, destroying something that is worth 110 rupees according to medical science, according to the this analysis. So does it really mean that our identity is worth 110 rupees, or there is something more to it? Let us analyze this little more deeply. So here you see beautiful actress. Now she is dead. The chemicals are the same, but still the person is different. Earlier she was attractive. She was, desirable by many people. Many people desired to have association with her. Now in the dead body, the chemicals are the same, but there is no feeling, no thinking, no desires, no movement, no consciousness. Why is it? Because the person has left the body. Soul is gone. That is what is our actual identity. We are not this material bodies, we are spirit souls. Now we shall look into some of the scientific proofs for the existence of a anti-material personality. First proof is common sense. You see, whenever someone dies, there's a common saying. Everyone refers that वो आदमी चला गया या फिर वो गुजर गया. He has passed away. In English, they say like this. So who has passed away? The body is still there in front of us with all its, 206 bones and 650 muscles and two eyes and different parts are still there. But still we are telling that he has passed away. Who is that thing that has passed away? That is the soul. And because people inherently have this understanding, that is why it has come up in the part of, as a part of language and the part of our expression. Common sense. Second proof, by intuitiveness, by intuition. You see, when you look yourself in the mirror, we say that these are my eyes, these are my ears, this is my nose, this is my mouth, this is my heart, this is my lungs, this is my body. So just like you tell that this is my shirt, but you are not the shirt. You are telling that this is my shirt, it means that the shirt belongs to me, but I am something that is different from the shirt. Similarly, you extend the this analogy to each and every part of the body. So these are this is my eye, these are my ears, this is my mouth, this is my nose. So who am I? Again, try to think, understand it in a different way. Let us say someone's eye become defective, and he gets an eye operation performed, and he gets his eye replaced by some healthy eye which can see properly, through which it can see properly. So does it mean that the person has changed, that the person feel that I have lost a part of myself and some other part is imposed upon me? No, the person remains the same. His thoughts, his memories, his behavior, everything remains the same with the replacement of eye. What to speak of eye? Different organs of the body can be replaced. Kidney can be replaced, liver can be replaced. Different organs of the body can be replaced, but the person remains the same. So this goes to show that our identity is actually something that is different from the body. We are the owner of this body. We are possessing this body. This body is in our control to some degree right now. But who is the person? The actual person is the soul, and that is different from the body. So this is also another argument for the existence of a anti-material personality, antimatter. Third thing is consciousness. You know, once upon a time when I was giving this session in my college, one of the boys raised his hand and he asked this question: Bhaiya, why you are telling about soul? I don't believe in soul. I cannot see any soul present in the body. How? No scientist in the world has seen soul. How can you prove that soul exists? So I told him, okay, forget about soul. Do you have mind? He told, yes, of course I have mind. Then I asked him, show me your mind. He pointed out towards his brain. Told, no, don't show me this brain. Even a dead body is having brain, but the dead body does not think. He is not having mind. How can you show that? How can you prove that you have mind? Then I asked him, do you have intelligence? He told, yes, I have intelligence. Again, he pointed to the brain. No, intelligence is a part of the subtle body. Even a dead body is having brain, but a dead body is not having intelligence. So then I explained him, as things go subtle and subtle, things cannot be seen. Gross things are something that you can perceive through your senses. But as things go subtler and subtler, it goes beyond the, realm of our senses. And a subtle thing has to be identified using its symptom. Now, what is the symptom of the presence of soul? The symptom of the soul is consciousness. As long as the soul is in the body is conscious. If you prick a part of the body, the person is going to feel pain because it is conscious. Consciousness is spread throughout the body because of the presence of soul. But as soon as the person dies, even if you kick the body, he is not going to feel anything. So that consciousness is the symptom of soul. Now sometimes this has been a matter of serious discussion in the recent times, that human beings are just biological robots, just some complex machines. But it is not like that, because for a machine, if let us say there is a camera here, for a camera this scene is just something limited to light. But for a person, this scene reminds him of some happy memories, something that the camera is not capable of doing, thinking, feeling, and willing. Machines cannot do this. Machine may be programmed to do this by someone, but automatically that is not their nature. Machine cannot be conscious. Machines are dead matter. So consciousness is a symptom of the soul, and presence of consciousness proves that there is an anti-material element to it. How? This we are going to see through this experiment. So, till the recent times, scientists used to believe that actually the source of consciousness is the brain. Because at the time of death, when the brain stops functioning, the person loses his consciousness. And that is how the scientists used to think that brain is the source of consciousness. But there was one scientist and he conducted this experiment. His name was Dr. Wilder Penfield. You can search on the internet also about his experiments. Very interesting. This scientist, based on his experiments, he draw this conclusion. He figured out which portions of the brain were triggered for which particular activities. And he conducted an experiment. He asked one of his research scholars to come and lie down. His student lied down, and he told him to raise his hand. And the person raised his hand, and then he analyzed which portions of the brain were getting activated when the person is raising his hand. Now, in the second part of experiment, he mechanically triggered those very portions of the brain which were responsible for raising his left hand. And this person, he got shocked. I'm not raising my hand. How my hand is getting raised? So this was some of the very remarkable groundbreaking experiment performed by Dr. Wilder Penfield. Now something very interesting. In the second part of the experiment, we see that it was Dr. Wilder Penfield who was manipulating his brain to raise his hand. Who was giving these instructions to the brain to raise hand in the first part of the experiment? That is soul. That is how this soul can be proved scientifically. This is also, soul is the source of consciousness. He is the thing that is operating the entire body, and brain is just an instrument. Just like Dr. Wilder Penfield can manipulate the brain and make him do certain things, similarly the soul is just using it as a tool to control the body. But so brain is not the seat of consciousness. Consciousness comes from the soul. Another interesting field of research, near death experiences or out of body experiences. In certain parts of the world, people have been declared dead. There are certain cases of what the scientists called as near death experiences. So in this, the person, by all medical parameters, he is declared dead. His eyesight is not working, his heart has stopped beating, his breathing has stopped, there is no heartbeat signal. By all medical parameters, the person is declared dead. But suddenly, after some time, he comes to consciousness. And then he explains, this person, what was the conversation that was happening inside the room when the person was declared dead. What all things the doctors talked among themselves. Sometimes the patient even tells some things that has happened outside of the room. The person goes out, sees which all his relatives were there, and then again comes back and goes into the body, and again the dead person is alive. So this is called as near death experiences. And approximately 11 to 14% of American population who are mentally and physically healthy had an OBE, out of body experience. 11 to 14% of mentally and physically healthy people. Now a mad person can think like this, okay, this thing happened to me. But mentally and physically healthy people, out of this is the percentage. And there is the scientist, he tells, enough research in NDE with impeccable scientific credentials. Similarly, research on eternal soul. 30 years the scientist has researched. And there are so many books published about this near-death experiences by scientists, not by some philosophers who, just somehow or the other are trying to justify things mentioned in the scriptures. No, this has been subject of research by the scientists. And it is a scientifically established fact. Astral projections, another interesting field. There are certain kind of meditations through which a person is able to send the soul out of his body, and he can enter into other person's house and notice things what are happening here. Even in India, even in the Vedic traditions, there is this one siddhi by which a person is capable of sending the soul out of his body, and he is able to go to different places and just see what is happening there. So astral projections, these are also scientific proof for existence of soul. Another field of research, reincarnation. There is this scientist, his name is Ian Stevenson. In his life, he has studied about 2000 cases of reincarnation, people recalling their past lives. There are so many interesting stories, and the following slides are going to show what are the conclusions of his research. Just like near-death experiences, so many books have been written about reincarnation also by scientists all over the world. So one of his conclusions of his research are phobias. So in certain people are observed to have certain kind of phobias right from the birth. They are afraid of a particular thing. And that he has drawn that in the past life, they had some bad experience with this, or the cause of their death was that particular thing of which he is getting afraid in the this life. He shows that if the previous life the person has died drowning in the river, then in this time he will be suffering from hydrophobia, fear of water. If in the previous life he was stabbed, then in this life he will have fear of bladed weapons. Similarly, if in the last life he was shot dead, in this life he will have fear of firearms. So on and so forth. Different phobias exist in different people because of their past lives, the impressions on their mind. Another thing, another very interesting conclusion. There are something called as monozygotic twins. Monozygotic twins are identical twins. Identical twins means by all medical parameters, all of their body structure, their eyesight, their hair color, skin color, everything is same. But still, these identical twins have behaved very differently. And as a conclusion of his research, Ian Stevenson tells that why these two people behave so differently, although the bodies are exactly identical, because two different souls have entered into the body. So although the body is the same, but the person is behaving differently because two different souls have entered into the body with different conditionings, different past life impressions. And that is the reason why these two people are behaving differently. This also goes to show that our identity is something that is beyond the body, because bodies are identical for these two people. The environment in which they are brought up, the parents, their dealings, their schools that they are going to, everything is exactly identical, but still they are behaving differently because two different souls have entered into the body. There is an interesting story of this pilot James. So there's a short video I'll just show.
Name and boyish good looks. James M. Houston, raised in the Midwest. James M. Leininger, a young boy from the Bayou.
Whoa! There's something in the eyes. It's undeniable.
That's not all they share.
Somehow James Houston's spirit has affected my son, either through reincarnation. I don't know how it happened.
I can beat the Japanese easy as pie.
Initially, what caught my attention was James's extreme fascination with airplanes.
And every night he slept with his G.I. Joe action figures, which he named.
I took him to the Kavanaugh Flight Museum.
Here's home video. While the other kids casually look at the plane, 2-year-old James seems to inspect it. Watch as he checks the underbelly, then climbs inside, donning the headset.
The pilot put him on?
I said, oh, look, there's a bomb on the bottom. He said, that's not a bomb, that's a drop tank.
Bouncing about in the cockpit, James was flying high. That night, their world would change forever.
He started having the nightmares, and that was my first indication that there was something wrong. It was a panic-stricken, terrorized screaming.
Over and over again, James had the same terrible nightmare, 4 to 5 times a week. He was too young to explain the dream, but he could draw.
Bombing ships, you see men parachuting. Here's another one where planes are dropping bombs.
Help me.
He would just be crying. He'd say, airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out. He laid on his back and kicked up at the ceiling, and he goes, Mama, the little man's going like this. And he laid on his back and kicked his feet up. The little man's going, ooh, 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 can't get out. And I said, well, who's the little man, baby? And he goes, me. I thought Bruce and I were just gonna faint.
They questioned, what kind of plane?
Corsair.
Why did your airplane crash?
My plane was shot down.
Who shot your plane?
He looked at me like I was a village idiot. He said,
The Japanese. I kept thinking, where is he getting this? I was a stay-at-home mom, so I know that there wasn't anything that he was being exposed to.
Not exposed to in this life, but perhaps, just maybe, somebody else was. Decades earlier, James Houston grew up with the same insatiable fascination with airplanes. He became a naval fighter pilot and fought in World War II. March 3rd, 1945, during a mission near Iwo Jima, he took a direct hit. At age 21, was declared missing and presumed dead.
where did he take off from a boat?
Do you remember the name of your boat? He said Natoma.
Found several thousand hits on the word Natoma.
The USS Natoma Bay launched into battle headed for Iwo Jima in the fight for Lady Gulf.
It's the biggest naval battle in the history of the world.
Leo Pyatt served on the ship. From his home in Ohio, he organizes the Natoma Bay reunions. That's how Bruce found him.
I wanted to disprove it.
He asked a few questions about, did I know some of the people? Oh yeah, I remember those people. And so he got very quiet.
It was all real. The people and places James described actually existed. And remember those G.I. Joe dolls that James named? Turns out 3 men with the same names, first and last, served on the Natoma and were killed in action. James said they greeted him in heaven after his crash.
I'd always asked him, do you remember what your name was? And he always said James. But his name is James.
Yes, there was a Jim Houston, or rather large shell, just hit him in the engine, and it burst into flames and went down.
They showed Leo the drawings.
He was right on the nose. I'm sure, in my mind, that he was there.
Leo invited James, now 3, to the reunion. James recognized several pilots, even called them by name.
You're Bob Greenwald. I'm serious.
And he never met Bob Greenwald?
No, he'd never met him before.
And someone else was invited, James Houston's sister, Ann.
And he goes, it's not Ann, it's Annie. She wasn't my oldest sister. I had an older sister than that. And I said, you did? Who was that? And he goes, Ruth. I mean Ruth.
Annie is what they called me when I was little. Knowing my name and my sister's name, things that my brother did when he was a kid. It's too amazing to describe how he would feel that way, but he does. He considers me his sister.
But does she consider James her brother?
I think it's probably a reincarnation of my brother.
Suzanne Stratford, Fox 8 News.
So you see in this video, it was shown how this little child, James, was able to recall his past life. And this is just one case. There are actually hundreds of cases like this. And this scientist, Ian Stevenson, he has studied 2,000 such cases. One of the cases is this case of Shukla. So Shukla was a 5-year-old girl, and one night she just started screaming, and she started to tell her parents that I want to see Meenu. And everyone was thinking, who is this Meenu? Then she told that he is my child. Then she described that I want to go to my village, I want to visit my place. Then her parents took her by train, and as soon as she landed on the station, she started directing the people towards her home. And then through all the various different crossroads that came across on the way, she was exactly able to identify, and she was able to locate the place where exactly her in the previous life she was there. And in that room there were around 20 men, and from that he exactly identified her husband in the past life. And then she saw Meenu, that young child, and during the delivery of the child she had left her body in the past life, and now she was able to remember. And as soon as she saw the child, she embraced him, and just like a mother, she was taking care of this. She was caressing and she was embracing the child with the genuine emotions of the mother. So like this, we see so many cases of reincarnation have been studied and established. Now, for most of the people, reincarnation and stories like this, they are, nice time pass. People read such stories out of some idle curiosity. But an intelligent person should inquire, if reincarnation is really a fact, then I also have to undergo through this. Will I also be born again? And I also have to continue my life like this, like just like in this life I'm struggling so much with the mind and senses, and different problems are coming in our lives. There are so many diseases. Again, I have to die. I don't want to die, but I have to die. Are we going to have these problems again and again in the next life? So is there a way by which I can get out of this repeated birth and death? These are the questions which an intelligent person should inquire. So till now we have established how the existence of soul is not something that is, that is just dogmatic concept taken from the scriptures, trying to validate certain things, trying to inspire people to live a life of morality. No, even scientific research has proven that there is some anti-material personality to our existence. And now let us see what the Vedic scriptures have to tell about the soul. See, we don't have to depend on all this research, because as we saw in the last session, Pratyaksha and Anuman cannot give us perfect knowledge. They can give us some information, but that is not very reliable. And when we look into the scriptures, we find such amazing characteristic of the soul described very elaborately throughout the scriptures. And you can do hundreds and hundreds of research based on the statements of these uh, Vedas scriptures. So if you put all the scientific research on one scale and one statement from the scriptures on the other hand, this is going to be heavier than all the scientific research. That is the authority and power of the Vedic scriptures. So what the Shastras speak of soul. So in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna very elaborately explains what are the characteristics of soul. So Nayanam Shindanti Shastrani, Nayanam Dahati Pavaka, Na Chayanam Kledyantapo, Na Shoshayati Maruta. So Nayanam Chindanti Shastrani, soul cannot be cut by any weapons. Nayanam Dahati Pavaka, the fire cannot burn the soul. Na Chayanam Kledyantapo, Na Shoshayati Maruta. It cannot be moistened by water or any liquid or acid. It cannot be withered away by wind. So this is the characteristic of soul. Indestructibility. That is the characteristic of soul. This is from Bhagavad Gita 2.23. Next verse. Na tuevaham jatu nasham na tvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamata param. There was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us ever cease to be. Second characteristic of soul. Individuality. Soul is eternally a person. Now some people have this concept that their concept of self-realization or their concept of liberation is when the soul merges into that cosmic super consciousness, something like this they tell. But no, this is clearly refuted by Lord Krishna in this verse, that there was there a time when I did not exist as a person. Right now all of us are existing as persons. Similarly, in the past and in the future, even after liberation, we continue to remain as individual spirit souls. There's nothing called as merging or bifurcating. So that is the second characteristic of soul, individuality. This is Bhagavad Gita 2.12. Now this one. Where is the soul located in the body? This is told in one of the Upanishads. So you can just read the Pranesh Chittam Sarvam. The soul is situated within the reason of heart. Interesting. You see, whenever you have to refer to yourself, automatically the hand points out toward the heart. This belongs to me, or I love you. You don't tell I love you, touching your head. So inherently, we understand that actual person is living in the heart, and that is what the scriptures are telling. Where the soul is located, mentioned in the scriptures. It is from Mundak Upanishad. This verse was from Mundak Upanishad. Next verse. For the soul there is neither birth nor death, nor there was never a time when the soul has come into being, nor in the future it will come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, primeval. It is not slain when the body is slain. Na anyate hanyamane shari. That is the characteristic of the soul, eternality. Now what is the size of the soul? So there is this verse from one of the Upanishads. Balakra Satabhagasya. If you take a piece of hair and divide it into 100 pieces, Satadha Kalpitasya, and each of this 100 portion of the hair, you divide it further into 100 portions. That is the size of soul. It is 1/10,000 of the tip of a hair. It's amazing. You see, such a small particle is running the whole body. Now, how to understand this? You can have this doubt how this tiny soul is operating the entire body. So just like a pilot, entire plane is operated by a pilot who is just situated in one corner of the plane. Similarly, the soul being situated in the one corner of the heart, it is able to run the entire body. And that is why this brings us to the next verse, that is Ascharyavat Pashyati Kashyadenam Ascharyavat Vadati Tathaiva Chanya. Some people look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, and while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So that is the characteristic. How such a tiny soul Same soul is capable of operating a bacteria also, and same soul is operating the body of a giant whale or giant trees. Everything is maintained by just one particle of soul. Now how to understand this? So just like a driver, he can drive a human being, he can drive a bicycle, he can drive a car, he can drive a truck, and he can fly an aeroplane also. So similarly, one soul is capable of doing all this. It's like this. This is from Bhagavad Gita 2.29. So we told that the body is just like a machine and the operator is the soul. Interestingly, there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita where this particular word is used, yantra. So you can just look at the last line of this word, Brahmyam Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. So just like a machine is operated by an operator, similarly this body is just like a machine, Yantra Rudhani Mayaya, and the soul is the operator of this body. Now here is an analogy between the bodily car and our human body, between a car and human body. So just like car has eyesight, human body has sight. Car has sound, we can also speak. Car has some source of energy, we have source of energy, that is heart. So car is capable of movement, our legs are capable of movement. So this body is just like a car, and just like the driver, without the driver the car cannot budge an inch. Similarly, without the presence of the soul, the body is just useless, as useless as a car without a driver. There in the scriptures it is also talked about how the soul is covered by different layers. So the outermost layer which we see, that is the gross body, and that is composed of 5 elements: fire, uh, earth, water, fire, air, ether. Krishna tells in one shloka in Bhagavad Gita, bhumirapo analo vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankar iti yamme bhinna prakritirashtadha. Bhumi, earth; apa, water; anala, fire; vayu, air; and kham, ether. So these are 5 elements, and there are 3 subtle elements. Subtle elements are mana, buddhi, ahankar, mind, intelligence, and ego. And inside this, the soul is there. And now, what are the characteristics of soul? Soul has 3 prime characteristics. That is Sat, Chit, and Anand. Sat means eternity, Chit means knowledge, and uh, Anand means bliss. So Sat feature, eternal. How to understand that we are eternal? There is a section that comes in Mahabharata, in the when this interesting section is there, that is Yaksha Prashna. So Yaksha is asking question and Yudhishthir Maharaj is answering. So one of the questions was, what is the most wonderful thing in this world? Then Yudhishthir Maharaj gives a very beautiful answer. He tells, Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam shesha thavaram ikchanti kim asharyam atah param. He tells that ahani ahani bhutani, at every moment, what is happening? Gachanti yamalayam. There are hundreds of people who are going to death, who are seeing death, who are going to the abode of Yamraj. Gachanti yamalayam. Sheshas thavaram ikchanti. Still the rest of the people, they keep on believing that somehow or the other this is not going to happen to me. I am not going to die. Kim asharyata param. What can be greater wonder than this? So we see that every day people are dying. Every day we are getting statistics. Yesterday this many people died of corona. But still we have this belief that we are going to live forever. We are not going to die. Where this propensity is coming from? That propensity is coming from the soul, eternity. Similarly, next characteristic is knowledge. Now all of us inherently we have knowledge. How a small bird understands how to take its food, how a small calf understands where are the teats of the mother, how he is going to take the milk. So inherently all of our inquiry, right from the morning till the night we go to bed, all of our conversations, the basis of conversation is inquiry, asking about things, why this, why that. So the soul is essentially full of knowledge, and because now the soul is covered over, we are also seeking that state of knowledge, and that is why we are asking questions. Bliss, this we have been seeing right from our first session, how every living entity, right from small ant to big elephant and human beings, everyone is just looking for a state of eternal happiness and bliss. That is because that is the propensity of the soul, ananda. Now here is a comparison drawn between body and soul. So soul is Sat, body is Asat. Sat means eternal. So the soul is eternal, but the body we are living in, that is temporary. Soul is Chit, body is Achit. Soul is full of knowledge, but the body is full of ignorance. Similarly, the soul is Ananda. Soul has a state of eternal happiness. But right now, we are in the body, and body is Nirananda. Body is not source of happiness. Body is the source of a misery. And that is why each and every part of the body has a doctor. Because each and every part is capable of making us miserable. Soul is alive, the body is dead. Body is always dead. It is the presence of the soul in the body that is keeping it alive. The soul is conscious and the body is unconscious. These are the difference between body and soul. Now, what are the practical benefits of understanding of soul? First thing, we get a proper direction in life. You see, if we don't understand who we are, then we don't have a proper direction in life. Because if our life, our life is just, we think that life is just, about this body, and at the time of death, everything is finished. So we cannot live a very responsible life. We will just think of eat, drink, and be merry, try to enjoy as much as possible, because at the time of death, everything is going to be finished. No, that is not a fact. We are going to be born again, and right now, the present actions are going to decide our future life. So, understanding of a soul helps us to get a proper direction in our life. Responsibility. Without this understanding of soul, we will think that we can do anything with anyone, we can harm anyone, we can exploit anyone. But a person who has this understanding of soul, he will understand that all of my actions, I will be accounted for each and every one of my actions, whether in this life or in the future life. So better let me be a responsible person. Universal brotherhood. You see, why are there so many problems in the world? People are fighting over nationality, people are fighting over religion, people are fighting over differences of opinion, people are fighting over gender, people are fighting over different psychologies. But a person who understands that we are not this body, all of these problems are because of identification with the body. Soul is not Indian or soul is not Pakistani. Soul is part of God. It is the body that is born in India, and the body is, Indian. So that is just like an external label. A person who understands that each and every living entity is a part of God. Each and every living entity is an individual soul different from the body. So that can bring us automatically to the platform of universal brotherhood. Immediately all of these, differences of opinion just subside, because that is temporary identification with the body. Rising above the dualities. Just like you see, two people, when I see that just like I am a spirit soul struggling with my body, and the person sitting next to me, he is also spirit soul struggling in his body, just like I am struggling with my body. So that gives us a sense of compassion, sense of love to that person, and that is very deep. That is another benefit of understanding the soul. Love and compassion for all species. So because of the presence of soul, we understand that life is sacred, and that is why we should love and have compassion for all species, not only human beings. Now, paradox of happiness. Why people try so much for happiness in this world, but we see very few happy faces around. What is the reason for this? Where is that missing point? So for this, I'd like to tell you a story. So once upon a time, what happened? There was an old lady. She had a nice, canary bird, and she loved the bird very much, and she had a golden cage constructed for her. And every day she used to come and she used to very nicely decorate the cage, polish the cage, and clean the cage. But she didn't used to feed the bird. After some time, what happened? She observed that the bird is growing little, you know old, and she is looking little, weak physically. So then she understood that I was not feeding the bird. So right now you may laugh at the foolishness of this old lady, but shastras tell that we are doing the same thing. Throughout the day, we are just decorating our bodies. All of our actions are just for the sake of this body, for the sake of pleasing this body. That is just like polishing the cage. What we are doing for the soul? What is the food that we are giving for the soul? That is the reason why people are unhappy in this world. We think that by bodily adjustments, by bodily sense gratification, by gratifying the senses, we can be happy. No, our actual identity is not just the covering. not this body. Of course, when we are in the body, soul is in the body, we have to take care of the body. We have to take our food, we have to take our, cleanliness and everything. We have the right to take care of the body, but that should never be at the cost of compromising our soul, the nature of the soul. And that is a very important lesson. That is the missing point actually for whole of the civilization that is going on right now. So what is the need of the soul? The greatest need of the soul is to connect back with God. And this we shall be discussing in our last session, when we'll be discussing how to connect with God. And that is practical life apps, last session in the series, Food for the Soul. Or just like this, another example, just like this car and driver. A person, if he just polishes his car very nicely, but he does not feed the driver, so how long can the car go on? Similarly, the modern civilization, the whole point of the civilization is missing. We are not doing anything for the soul that is within the body. We are just concerned with the our external, body, mind, senses. You cannot serve a person on the platform of his body. We have to go deeper. Always friendship, love, all of these relationships have to be established on the platform of soul. That is the point of this session. So here is a extension of that analogy. Just like a car is given by the company, similarly human body is given by God. Car has a driver, soul is the driver of this human body. Similarly, cleanliness of car is required. Similarly, human body's maintenance is required. And similarly, the purpose of the car is given by the company to go to the company. Similarly, human body is given to us by God to permanently solve the problems of birth and death. Now someone can misuse this God-given property, just like someone can break the glass of the car with a bat. And in human body, if he goes through so many problems, he can commit suicide. So that is something like breaking the car with a bat. So, and also someone can do something that is not his supposed to do, just like using the car to wander with a girlfriend. This is similar to enjoying pleasures, forgetful of this goal, to permanently solve these problems of birth and death. And that is the point that whole civilization is missing right now. So different examples are given. So we have to understand that actually we can be happy only when we are in our natural state. Just like a fish put out of water. No matter how many comforts you provide to the fish cannot be happy. Spirit soul cannot be happy in this living in this material world. Although different comforts can be provided to him at the platform of body, the spiritual needs have to be addressed. And that is what brings us to the point of soul and super soul. Now, you have to understand, sometimes some words in the scriptures are manipulated by people. For example, scriptures tell that aham brahmasmi, and people interpret it as I am God. So someone can think, okay, I am also eternal, God is also eternal, Satchit Anand, all of these features are present both in me and the God. So am I God? A person can start thinking like this. No, scriptures give us this clear demarcation between what is soul and what is super soul, Atma and Paramatma. So just like the soul is situated in the body, similarly super soul is also situated in the body. So soul is only Brahman, but super soul is Parabrahman. So in Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter, Arjuna addresses when he sees the Virat Roop of Krishna. He tells that Param Brahmam, Param Dhamam, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. Param Brahmam. So soul is addressed as Brahman, but God is Parabrahman. Soul is limited, super soul is unlimited. Soul is Anu, infinitesimal, super soul is Vibhu. Soul's consciousness is limited, super soul's consciousness is unlimited. Just like, I am conscious of my body. Like someone pricks me, I will feel pain. But if someone pricks some other person, I will not be able to feel that pain. So I am just conscious of my body, he is just conscious of his body. But the super soul within the heart, he is conscious of all the bodies. 20 years ago, exactly this date, what was the thought that was going on in your mind? The super soul knows that. That is how unlimited it is. The soul is localized and super soul is all pervading. So the conclusion is, we are not gods, we are gods. We are God's children and we are meant to serve the Lord. And that is the whole point of this journey of self-discovery, to come to this understanding that how we are God's children and how we can connect back to Him. That is actually the meaning of self-realization. Self-realization does not mean, you achieve a state where some light is coming out of your body. Sometimes spiritual things are shown like this in the movies, but actually that is not the case. Spirituality is the most practical thing that's around. Now, sometimes this analogy is given in the scriptures. The soul and super soul in the heart, actually they are like two birds. So the soul bird is trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree, and the super soul bird is just watching that soul performing different activities. Sometimes he tastes a sweet fruit and he becomes happy. Sometimes he tastes a bitter fruit and he becomes sad. But the super soul is constantly watching that soul, and all he wants is just to turn towards him. The God wants the soul to turn toward himself, and that is going to fulfill all the needs, and that only can give us satisfaction. Until that eternal light of God shines within the heart through the soul, we cannot feel satisfaction, we cannot feel happy, no matter how much we try to take gratify the senses and mind. So thank you very much. This was this all session about. So next session will be who is God. So we'll be, in the next session we will be discussing about how there are different understandings of God given in different religions, and how we can understand, how we can reconcile the differences that are there. So thank you very much for attending this session.